So we have a prophecy in Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, that there's going to be one that's going to come, and among other things, he's going to change times and Torah. And he's changing times and seasons. He's changing when we celebrate holy things, when we celebrate the biblical festivals. And so it's common that Daniel 7 verse 25 is interpreted to speak about the false Messiah of the end of days, but at the same time it is referring to one that historically we understand to be Antiochus Epiphanes IV, who was a Greek Seleucid king, that when he administered upon the temple system, that they had to observe his birthday. And his birthday, if you do some readings in the book of Maccabees, was the 25th of Kislev. And also when the Greek Seleucids administered their power and their control over Israel, over Jerusalem, you had to pay taxes. So you have to pay taxes according to the Greek Seleucid calendar. And so for various reasons, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, he influences the temple system, where ultimately there's a change to the calendar that got followed in the temple, wherein originally it was the priestly calendar that was faithfully preserved by the Zadok priests. And now when we get to the times of the Maccabees and the Hasmoneans, who made an agreement with the king that came to power in the Greek Seleucid Empire after Antiochus Epiphanes IV, that there was the following in the temple of the Greek Seleucid calendar. So why is this important? Because if you look at the Greek Seleucid calendar, it's basically the same as the Babylonian calendar by which Orthodox Judaism keeps their festivals today, except for the Greek Seleucid calendar used Greek gods, wherein the Babylonian calendar uses Babylonian gods. But it was effectively the same calendar system. So therefore, this is where the Babylonian calendar system starts to be observed within the temple, and it replaced or usurped the priestly calendar that was being faithfully followed by the Zadok priests, beginning with Zadok the priest in the days of David and Solomon. But I would like to make a point here that even though I most often refer to this calendar as the Zadok priestly calendar, it's really a priestly calendar that the Zadoks followed. They had the stewardship, so they did not create the calendar. According to the Dead Sea Scrolls, they believed that this calendar was originally given to Enoch. So Enoch predates any Zadok priest, and so this calendar was given to Enoch, but they were ultimately stewards over it when and in the time of Zadok the priest in the days of David and Solomon.
Book of Matthew, chapter 16, and it is the first 4 verses. The Pharisees and Sadducees, or Herodians, or Boethusians, as we mentioned quite some time ago, came up testing Yeshua. They asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He replied and said, "When it is evening, you say, it'll be fair weather, for the sky's red. In the morning, he says, there'll be a storm today, for the sky's red and threatening." Now, Yeshua says here, you know how to discern or understand the appearance of the sky. but he says you cannot understand or do not understand the signs of the times. Then he goes on to talk about Jonah. When he speaks about the idea of the signs of the times, this does not have anything to do with, oh, these rotten things are happening, terrible things are happening. It's the signs of the times. It's not about that. That's the wrong interpretation. Because in the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically, and we wouldn't have known this without finding the Dead Sea Scrolls, the terms signs of the times appears over again repeatedly in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the signs of the times. It's about this in Daniel 7:25, where this one intends to change times and law. So signs of the times is about the changing of the times and the law of the calendar in that context.
The significance of Daniel 7, verse 25, is this is prophesying about the time when Antiochus Epiphanes IV forces the Greek Seleucid calendar, which comes from the Babylonian calendar, upon the temple system. And ultimately, when the Hasmonean Maccabees, when they come to power and they become the high priests in Israel, they followed this Greek Seleucid Babylonian calendar. So this is when we have the switch of the calendar in the temple. And of course, then when the Pharisees come along, since the temple is following a Greek Seleucid calendar, which is based upon the Babylonian calendar, they easily are able to, through the rabbis and the Sanhedrin, make their determination regarding when to celebrate the festivals according to that calendar, wherein the faithful Zadok priests, in response to this, because they thought that this was a great abomination, because time is holy.
It is sacred.
Time is sacred. And so they flee, and there's a community established in the Qumran, and the leadership is the Zadok priests, and the preservation, or you might say the holding on to the roots of their faith, that was being done in the Qumran.
We are learning here then that this Antiochus or Antiochus Epiphanes IV, he forced the Greek Seleucid calendar upon the temple system. And based on the information we have from history, this is about taxes, the payment of taxes on time, and it's also about the king's birthday.
Yeah, and other things.
And the Jews of the time, they were revolting and saying, we don't want to have anything to do with that stuff. That's your thing. Ours is about something different. And so the Maccabees, or the Hashmonaim, the Hasmoneans, they followed the Greek Seleucid Babylonian calendar.
Well, we haven't gone over this, but how the Maccabees came to power. They made an agreement with the Greek Seleucid king that followed Antiochus Epiphanes IV, and it was a political agreement. And a part of that political agreement is the Greek Seleucid kings would recognize that the Maccabees were the high priests in Israel. It was a political agreement.
Oh, yeah. All right, this is going to then lead us into the Tzadok Kohanim, or priests, and how they fled into the Qumran based on Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3.